You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
The Information Man Show.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Information is
Man
power.
Show.
Be sure to subscribe to his channel.
You are now tuned to BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
City by the Bay. California. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Information Man Show, the Information Man Experience. Right there, what you see is the city by the bay. That's San Francisco, California. As you already know, in previous videos that I've done over the weeks, I did a video focusing on the California reparations, and the task force in California met March 3rd and March 4th in Sacramento, California, which is the capital city of California. If you all can hear me as you're coming into the chat room, hit a 7. We're going to get into it today. Now, I know that a lot of you have heard videos already about this. People have talked about this. Jason Black went strong into it yesterday on his channel, the Black channel. And you probably have heard other people talk about this. You probably have heard about this in the news. You probably have heard people talk about this all over social media and off social media. But this is the difference. Unlike, let me just say this, I got to be respectful. Unlike some people that have talked about this issue on the social media streets, such as YouTube, this is the one difference. The one difference is that yours truly, Information Man Show, I grew up in San Francisco. I know San Francisco politics better than anybody that's talked to you about it that's not from San Francisco. I'm 53 years old. I grew up through those late 70s as a young kid. As a teenager in the early 80s, I grew up through the 90s. I saw all the gritty shit in San Francisco. I'm going to give you a perspective that some people can talk about, but they didn't live it because they're not from San Francisco. I know all about the dirty politics of San Francisco. I know all about how black people are marginalized in San Francisco. This man here is Dr. Amos Brown. He is the pastor of Third Baptist Church. Third Baptist Church is like our mecca of black churches in the San Francisco area. Of course, you have Glide Memorial Church. Now, I'm going to be fair here on my broadcast because I actually know this man. Unlike others that are talking about this issue, I actually know this brother. I've actually sat down and have talked to him. I've had conversations with him, particularly years and years ago. This was years ago when we had a conversation and debate about the Million Man March and the fact that Farrakhan was the lead man. So Amos Brown, to give you a little history about him before I get into the presentation, is that he's known amongst world leader, presidents, celebrities, and academia alike for his trademark activism, intellectual discipline, and masterful orator. So he's a great speaker. But then again, black people have always had great speakers. We need less speaking and we need more action. Okay, Dr. Amos C. Brown is a legend in his own time. He was tutored by Medgar Evers, Benjamin Mays, Samuel Williams Jr., Barber, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's right. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. mentored him. Still isn't an excuse for making a mistake on the NAACP document that was put out. And he has now recanted it. The San Francisco NAACP has recanted the first statement saying that it was a mistake. And I'm going to say to you, and I'm going to repeat this throughout the show, whatever happened to proofreading before you put something out into the spare for people to read? Then you won't even have these problems, Brother Brown. That's the professional way to go about things. Reverend Amos Brown, Dr. Amos Brown was one of 8 students in the only class of Dr. King taught in his lifetime at Morehouse College. Dr. Brown has never seen the issue of society as separate from his mission of the church, especially when the members of his church are directly affected by systems of evil. A native of Jackson, Mississippi, Dr. Brown has been a pastor of San Francisco Third Baptist Church since 1976 as a scholar, theological preacher, social activist. He has maintained a marriage, political action in the ministry. He was equipped for great destiny. Mentorship, leadership, training at Morehouse College, BA in divinity, theology, seminar, and what have you. I just wanted to lay out his resume so that you all know that this is a man that, although we're not happy about what the NAACP did in San Francisco and making those statements about they rejected the $5 million cash payments, even though black people are 6% of the goddamn population in San Francisco, it wouldn't break San Francisco. I'm here to end that lie right now. San Francisco spends money on what it wants. I lived there damn near all my life. I've seen lots of things happen. I've seen black people become marginalized in our own damn city. You want to ask, why is it that there's not that many black people in San Francisco anymore, ladies and gentlemen? Because I'll tell you why. Systematic racism, prejudices. They tell you that the great golden state of San Francisco is the most liberal town, yet nothing that black people want do we get in San Francisco. I'm here to tell you that the San Francisco liberalism is a myth, and keep this in mind because the Democrats are no goddamn better. The Democrats are no damn better than the Republicans, because for those of you who say don't vote Democrat, I get it. And those of you who say, well, let's go with Republican. Republicans are not for reparations either. I'm going to lay out the framework. I know you've listened to other people talk about, nobody's going to give you the comprehensive breakdown the way I'm going to give you the breakdown today. Now, on this is from peer research. The bottom of this chart talks about 77% of black Americans compared with 18% of white Americans support reparations for descendants of enslaved people. I'm going to break this chart down. At the bottom, it says Republicans and Democrats in Republican Klan. The Republican Klan, this is the United States adults who say descendants of people enslaved in the United States should be repaid in some way, such as giving land or money. Check this out. The Republicans at 91% say hell no. Hell to the no. Just want to lay out the framework. The Republicans, only 8% of Republicans say they're down with it. Now, for your Democrats on this chart. The Democrats are split. Some say 49% of these Democrats who claim to be for black people, we vote for this party, lock, stock, and barrel, and they're giving us 49% no's, while they're giving us 48% yes. Obviously, they're giving us more yeses than the Republicans are giving us yeses at 8% Republicans. But they're split. Yet every year they keep telling us we're here to give you social justice, black folks. We're here to get you the job opportunities. The Democrats have been pushing this bullshit for years, and black folks are still no better off today than we was yesterday.
Tell the truth.
I'm here to tell you right now, let me give you Sharman Walter. This is the brother that I give a clap to. He's one of the council members on the board in San Francisco. He's a council member. He's one of the ones who says, hey, he's one of the ones that contribute to coming up with that $5 million. Of course, Dr. Amos Brown is saying that the number came out of the thin air, that there was no calculation, there was no mathematics. I understand, Brother Brown, that the mathematics you have to have the mathematics. You have to have the 1 plus 1 equals 2 type stuff. You have to have the math add up. You have to know what the public coffers are in San Francisco, because there are those that will say, well, it's going to bankrupt the city. How about San Francisco has bankrupted black people for years? Black people, ladies and gentlemen, black people. Now, Amos Brown, all due respect to you, my brother, you are the leadership of the past, and we technically need leadership of today. We need the new generation to lead us. The older civil rights generation, like Brother Amos Brown, they're the old guard. They have taken us as far as they can take us today, but it damn sure ain't enough today. We need young leadership today, like this brother right here in San Francisco, who got off his behind and said, no, man, we're going to come up with $5 million, maybe even more than that. But at least he's thinking. Brother Brown wants to take us back to the past, in my opinion, with the same stuff that doesn't work in San Francisco, such as we need public housing. Hell with public housing. Black people need home ownership. You cannot create generational wealth, Brother Brown. If I was talking to him one-to-one and debating with him, I would tell him just what I'm telling him right now. Black people, brother, in this discourse I'm having, we don't need public housing. We need home ownership. The reason why black people are being gentrified out of San Francisco is because the goddamn rent is too high. And we don't have home ownership. So therefore, when you don't have home ownership, they can gentrify you out because you don't own anything. Black people in Bayview, Hunters Point are being gentrified out. Black people in the Fillmore, where I grew up, in the Fillmore area of San Francisco, that's where the Fillmore Cultural Center is that he talks about. I know it. Black folks have been gentrified out of the Fillmore. There's an old saying that we got. Fillmore has no mo anymore. The mo has been filled out of Fillmore, meaning black people have been moved out of it. We used to call it redevelopment. Redevelopment is Negro removal. You know that, Dr. Brown. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They put a police station in the middle of this black community in the Fillmore to occupy us. Black people need home ownership. Public housing has not worked in San Francisco. And when I lived in the Fillmore, you used to have those high-rise projects. You had the Pink Palace where people were getting thrown over the damn Pink Palace. He knows what I'm talking about. And then they cut those high-rise projects down when the country said, let's get rid of these high-rise projects. And it still didn't work. You give black people $5 million, you give black people a $5 million cash payment. That solves all the problems when it comes to housing. You can afford to live wherever you want. You may not want to stay in San Francisco because that $5 million will get all gobbled up, but it gives you the ability to say, I can move out of here. I can buy property in somewhere else and I can do what? And give it to my inheritance, which would be my children. The NAACP has had a history back in the civil rights movement of trying to advance, it's the advancement of colored people. For the advancement of colored people, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, founded in 1909. Damn it, $5 million, if we can get it, any goddamn millions of dollars could advance black people. I want y'all to see this city as I lay this out for you. This is San Francisco. You see it on the screen. San Francisco black residents once made up more than 13% of the population. Hell, when I grew up, it was probably more than that. 13% of the city's population at one point in time. But more than 50 years later, ladies and gentlemen, in this city by the Bay, black people account for less than 6% of the city's residents. And this one is why reparations is needed, because nobody is doing it. It's got drug addicts on the street. San Francisco's got people that giving out needle exchange in San Francisco. That was a mistake. I remember when I was still living in San Francisco, ladies and gentlemen, that was a mistake. They should have never did needle exchange. Now you got drug addicts all over the damn streets in San Francisco. Looks like something out of the movie New Jack City. You see this black man laying on the floor? He's laying on that ground because he's probably been disenfranchised. He probably couldn't get jobs. Black people, black men and black women, we can't get contracts. We've never gotten contracts in San Francisco. Anything that black people have wanted for their community, we can't get it. Whether it's, I'm going to name some neighborhoods. For those of you out there who might be from the Bay Area, put a 1 in the chat room. We're talking about Hunters Point, Bayview Hunters Point. We're talking about Potrero Hill, Fillmore. We're talking about the West Side projects over in the Fillmore area. I know the damn streets of San Francisco. Army Street projects, they used to call it. the Cow Palace area, Sunnydale Housing Project area. You have these impoverished neighborhoods in San Francisco because black people have never been able to get proper jobs, opportunity. Now, I know Amos Brown talks about jobs. He talks about education. Yeah, we do need education. We do need jobs. You give me $5 million, that solves my economic problems right there. I can create my damn job. I can create my own business. You give us $5 million, we can create our own curriculum. We can create our own schools and educate our own people. This man is laying on the floor because he's a victim of the injustice that's going on in California and San Francisco and this whole damn place we call America. Now I'm about to blow you away with this statistic here. Black people are only 6%. Y'all all saw that movie with Jonathan Major, Last Black Man in San Francisco. It's true. We are non-existent there. If black people are only 6% of the population, and we were 13% at one point in time, why in the hell, being 6% of the population, now black people make up 30% of its homeless population? Tell me what that's all about. And then you wonder why $5 million, why black people are asking for cash payments. Now, Amos Brown, I'm going to be fair here. Dr. Amos Brown of Third Baptist Church, he did come on the Roland Martin show. My man, Joe Madison, I'm going to play some of that for you. And he did say that, no, we want you to have cash payments, but it's got to be plus, meaning cash payments plus programs. But those programs that you're asking for, brother, are just programs that's going to create more bureaucracy, and the money that black people get is going to go back into the hands into a bureaucracy political system, a bureaucracy in San Francisco, a bureaucracy in this country that has not worked for black people as of now and as of years. It's a bureaucracy.
Tell the truth.
It's a bureaucracy that hasn't worked. When I was living in San Francisco as a youngster in the Fillmore area, I saw a program shut down. Let me give you an example of something. The basketball, the midnight basketball at Ella Hill. Those of you that's from the Bay Area, put a 1 in the chat room because you know I'm telling the truth. You have Ella Hill Hutch. You had Hamilton Gym. I went back there a couple of years. I went back to my neighborhood a couple of years ago, went to Hamilton Gymnasium where I used to play sports and basketball. It's a recreational center. I couldn't recognize it. You got everybody and their mama in there, Asians, whites. I said, where happened to all the black people? Because they've been gentrifying the damn neighborhood. They bring in all the nice stuff when they bring in another clientele of people and marginalize us. Ella Hill Hutch, back in the day, we used to have the midnight basketball program that was keeping black men and women off the streets from selling drugs. It was successful. They cut the damn program. The police occupy black communities, occupy black people. Every time black people have gone to the city hall for all these mayors, we get marginalized. When Willie Brown, see, y'all laughed at Willie Brown. When Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco and he proposed a mall plus football field for the 49ers, people was like, what is he talking about? He was talking about job opportunities. What Brother Amos Brown's talking about now should have been done a long time ago. So when Willie Brown as mayor of San Francisco proposed that, making a mall attached to a football stadium because he was thinking about jobs, because the 49ers original football stadium is located in the Bayview Hunter Point area, is located in an area where black people live at. It's located in that community, close to Highway 101, Highway. Thank you for the super chats. I appreciate it. Sports Express podcast, and anybody else I missed, I apologize if I missed anybody. I think I got a super chat by Robert Benjamin, Lakeview. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the super chat.
Everybody laughed at Willie Brown, and Willie Brown had to go up against a board, a commission board that wasn't made up of people that look like us. Now, let me get some people upset right now. In all my years of living in San Francisco, the people who normally got what they wanted, I'm going to keep it real. I don't care. I'm not, people going, oh, you're homophobic. No, this is the facts because I grew up there and I saw it. The government in San Francisco was heavily dominated by the gay community, particularly the white gay community. They controlled the board. A lot of them would become mayors over the years, or they would get whatever they wanted in the city because they had political clout, political power. They had the money to lobby the politicians in San Francisco. Whatever the gay community wanted for their community, they got it. Whatever black people asked for and demand, we got nothing. We got rocks in the bag like Charlie's Brown. So the city of San Francisco has never shown any liberal respect to us. The white liberals are not our friends. The gay white liberals are not our friends too, black people. And this people of color stuff, forget about it. No other racial group in San Francisco goes to bat for black people. They never have. The Asian community in San Francisco, they have economic prosperity. They got their own community. They control their own economics. Therefore, they don't need politicians. Politicians need them.
Tell the truth.
Because they are economically sovereign. They have economic, what do you call it? They have generational wealth that they have created in their own community. The Russians, all the other groups in the community, they don't give a damn about black people. Talk about a liberal city. San Francisco is one of the most segregated cities on this planet. Most people live in neighborhoods based by their race. It's like a pizza. Some pastrami over here, some cheese over there. Black olives over here, bell peppers over here. There's no unity. There's no black and brown coalition in San Francisco. You got the Mission District where all the Latinos live. That's segregated, desegregated to themselves. When they were talking about giving the gay community money in San Francisco, there was no uproar about that in San Francisco. As soon as you say, let's give something to black people, now everybody's jumping out the window and got something to say about black people and what we should be getting and what we can't get. We don't need the NAACP jumping out the window and making misstatements and missteps. You can't put that out there like that, Brother Brown. Because this is why you're getting the pushback that you've been getting when you jump out and you make these types of statements and then you take it back and say, well, that's not what I meant. San Francisco, this is the original letterhead. San Francisco NAACP rejects $5 million reparation payment to blacks, calls for reparations to focus on investment and opportunities in 5 key areas. Damn it, give us $5 million and we'll make our own 5 key areas for ourselves. 5 key areas at the Board of Supervisors meeting on reparations today. San Francisco, NAACP today calls upon the Board of Supervisors to reject one-time. Now, if you didn't mean any of this stuff, why would you put this stuff out here? Why? I'm just saying. It's a damn shame. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
If you didn't mean any of that, then don't put that stuff out there like that, because now it puts everything into a pickle. But $1.5 million, we reject the one-time $5 million reparations payment to blacks, but instead call upon the city to make investments in 5 key areas. The Reverend Amos Brown today said that the board of Supervisors is holding a hearing today at 3 p.m. This was on March 14th, not that long ago, just this past week. The city reparations plan and Dream Keepers initiative should redirect its focus on providing 5 key elements. And then after they put that statement out, then there was all hell that broke loose. And then the NAACP reneged on it. They took it back, not reneged. They took it back on March 16th. So they put that statement out on March 14th. 2 days passed. And then they come back on March 16, 2023, and they say the NAACP San Francisco branch clarification of the rejection to $5 million reparation payment. We are clarifying the NAACP San Francisco branch statement presented on Tuesday, March 14th. The city and county of San Francisco claims to be the progressive, liberal, metropolitan city. No, it's not, but is dramatically opposed. While the reparations recommendations for Black Americans were unanimously accepted by San Francisco Board of Supervisors, they did not vote last night because the recommendations would not have passed. Let me say something. Let me just say something right here, because Brother Brown, you know better. You got to do better. You got to say what you say what you mean, and mean what you say. Brother Brown,
the truth.
let me say this. I'm putting you on the hot seat. You know what the hot seat means in our organization. I'm about truth. I'm about truth here on this program. You're on the hot seat with me right now. Why would you put something out? This is just I'm just being honest here. Why would the NAACP in San Francisco put a statement out and don't proofread it? Why would you not look at that statement and say, is this what we want to go with? Is this really how we feel? Proofread it. Make sure this is what you want put out there, Dr. Amos Brown, because you're the president of the NAACP, so the buck stops with you. You have to know, is this what you really want people to hear and know? Whatever happened to proofreading something and saying, oh, no, don't put that out. No. That's not the statement that we want the society to think that we think. No, it would have made more sense to put a statement out saying that although we like the idea, and see, this is how you do it. Although we like the idea of a $5 million cash payment, our concerns is this, that we want to make sure that this doesn't get voted down in San Francisco. And we really feel that not only should Black folks get the cash payment, but we also want the housing, the tax exemption from not paying taxes. We want housing. That housing has to be home ownership. We want business loans for Black people to be able to open up a damn business, because we know we get redlined and marginalized out of getting a business loan in these corrupt banks we got today. So you're supposed to push the statement out that although we're for the $5 million, we also want these programs added to it. And we also want to see a number that will make sense so that nobody in San Francisco can vote against it. You have to clarify your statement the first time you put it out. You only got one shot at this, one time to make it right. Because now you put out a statement that you seem to stand by, or you wouldn't. Why release statements that you don't stand by and that you don't believe in? If you believe in something, you stand by what you put out the first time, because you've taken the time to think it through, use critical thinking skills. Use those cognitive skills to say, is this what we feel as an organization, as a branch of the NAACP in San Francisco? Is this what we really want for the public to look at? Now, Amos Brown, he calls for the city. He calls for the city to invest in education. Great. If you give us $5 million, we can invest in our own damn education. Black students don't perform as well as their peers. Brother, I already know that. I lived in San Francisco all my life. We've always had that problem. You know why? Because no resources. Black people are going to schools. The public schools in San Francisco have always been terrible, terrible. Why didn't we fix these problems a long time ago? You give me $5 million, we open up our own damn schools, educate our own damn kids, since we're living in a world today where black history is becoming illegal. To teach people black history, it's becoming demonized. Black students don't perform as well as their peers. Who you telling? We already know that. We need remedial programs to help our children with reading, math. We can do it ourselves. Whatever happened to self-reliance? As a preacher in San Francisco for the Third Baptist Church, my brother, I know on Sunday, don't you preach to your congregation the ideas of self-reliance? You were a student of Dr. King. Dr. King said the most dangerous thing in America is conscientious stupidity and sincere ignorance. Don't mess with me. This Information Man
Tell
show.
the truth.
Dr. King said the most dangerous thing in America, ladies and gentlemen, is sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Reading, math, and science. You give us the $5 million, we can educate our own kids and be self-reliant. Instead of, because you are a religious man, my brother Brown. Doesn't it talk about how God helps those that help themselves? You give us that $5 million, we can take care of our own selves. We can make our own schools, educate our own kids. Because the reason why black children in San Francisco, I'm a victim of it. The reason why black children in San Francisco are not as educated as they should be is because they have a racist educational system with racist ass teachers. When I was in high school, when I was in elementary school, you had these white teachers that would say, they would put you in the corner. If you were a black child, or especially a black male, they called you what? Hyperactive. They called you what? Out of control. He's hyperactive. We don't know what to do with him. Because you had racists, just like Malcolm X said in his autobiography, you had these racist teachers. You can't fix the educational system in San Francisco or anywhere in this country by just saying we're going to throw money at the problem. No, the problem is not the money. The problem is the people that's teaching our kids.
Tell the truth.
We have the wrong people teaching our kids, Brother Brown. That's the problem in San Francisco. Many black males have been victims of racism, internal and external racism in San Francisco. The cards have been stacked against us. Black males are only valued in San Francisco if you can run a damn football or you can run a damn play basketball. And let me let you in on something that many of y'all don't know in my chat room. I'm heated up. Nobody's going to give you this analysis that I'm giving you because they're not from San Francisco. I am. Do you know at one point in time in San Francisco, scouts from colleges, football scouts, basketball scouts, they didn't even bother with scouting some of the players in San Francisco that came out of public schools because they knew that these guys would not have the grades to get into their schools. San Francisco was known as a wasteland of talent. All these talented people, athletes in the public schools, but they couldn't get scholarships because their academics weren't good. That wasn't because they couldn't learn. I was around these guys. I played basketball in San Francisco in high school. I was around some of the best athletes in San Francisco at that time, back in the late 80s, early 80s. And a lot of them were illiterate or could not get through and matriculate to get into a college program because of the poor education that was provided to them by people who don't look like us. Racist teachers put you in put you in programs, label you learning disability. They target you. Black males were targeted in high schools in San Francisco. You liberal San Francisco. We were targeted. We were literally targeted. So the reason why, if you want to ask on his plan, why our children need remedial classes, why our children reading and math and science scores are not good, because we don't have black people teaching our kids in San Francisco. Overall, the majority of the teachers don't look like the children that they're teaching, or do they have any expectations or high expectations for? Black people didn't have these problems when we were teaching our own kids before we got desegregated and bust into these schools. Economic empowerment with President Biden's hell with President Biden. President Biden can't even get the damn George Floyd bill passed. He couldn't even get a damn bill to protect us. They were able to pass the Asian hate bill just like that. When it comes to black people, we can't even get the George Floyd bill. George Floyd's been gone for a couple of years now. Joe Biden hasn't done anything. He's cut some of the budget for the money for HBCUs, talking about education. With President Biden infrastructure bill, we want to see more black people get the opportunity to get jobs on billion-dollar infrastructure work that will be done in our community. I agree with that. Black people should get the contracts because we've never gotten the contracts in San Francisco. And what little bit of programs they've had in San Francisco have been destroyed. I agree with that. Black men, black women, we should get the contracts. But we can't wait on Joe Biden administration forever. We've been waiting. He's been in office for damn near 4 years now, 3 years now. Black folks have gotten nothing. You give us $5 million, we won't have to worry about no damn contracts from the federal government. We can have our own businesses. You give black people $5 million, $6 million, whatever. That will give us the ability to at least have some independence to create our own businesses. The hell with government contracts and bureaucracy. Now, do I think we should get contracts? Yes, but cash payments. You give black people $5 million, we really don't need to wait on the government because we don't know how long it's going to take for that to happen when you got the damn Republicans in the damn House now. I want to say peace to everybody that's here. Doe Eyes TV, peace to you, sister. Thank you for having me on your show last night. Let's go back to this now. Housing. We want more housing, No, we don't need public housing, Brother Brown. What black people need is home ownership. We've always been told that generational wealth and wealth can be created for the average common person through home ownership. Through home ownership, you can get some equity in your home. You can develop wealth. You can pass a home down to your child, your son, to the next generation, and you can potentially get some equity in your home. With home ownership, black people can use that to itemize their furniture in the house, their valuables, and also black people can get a tax break with home ownership, get a tax write-off, should I say, right? You can't get a tax write-off being a renter. There is no tax write-off. So public housing is not going to get it. Public housing, I get it. In San Francisco, public housing has been a problem over the years. It's a disaster. But public housing would just put black people right back into another bureaucracy. We need to eliminate a bureaucracy. That's our problem. San Francisco ain't nothing but one big giant bureaucracy. That would just create more bureaucracy. We ain't got time for bureaucracy. We want housing, more public housing, more affordable housing. No, we want home ownership. That's what you should put in there. For blacks, there should be preferably treatment for blacks to keep our people in the city. There should be preferred, yes. Keep us in the city? Right. What is the city going to do for us if we stay in the damn city? Because obviously black people are leaving the city because there's nothing in San Francisco that benefits the black community or black community. See, what he's asking for, it all sounds good, but it's just more bureaucracy. It'll be something that'll be tied up in a damn committee. They'll come up with a committee to determine how they're going to do these. We don't have time. We already got these reparations committee that's stalling the process as is. Blacks, let's see this. Preferred treatment for blacks to keep our people in the city. San Francisco has fallen from 16% black population to less than 5%. We need new vision, 40 acres and a mule. We should have had that years ago. That benefit and assess blacks to live, thrive in San Francisco, a city that has downed everything it can, done everything it can to drive us out. The reason why black people are driven out of San Francisco, I'm going to say it again, is because we do not have generational wealth. We do not have home ownership. We do not have real leadership in the city that really is going back to us. We need new leadership. We need new, young, thriving leadership with black people who have the mindset for the future. We cannot be going back to the past, using these past remedies that are based in what? The Democratic Party saving us. They've done nothing. The Democratic Party has done nothing for us right now. You got the family of Shaquilla Robinson begging the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris administration to do something about what happened to their daughter, and they've done not squiddly, diddly, damn anything.
Tell the truth.
And it's tough because the United States doesn't really have jurisdiction in Mexico, but they've done nothing. Blacks to live in San Francisco, a city that has done, we know that, a city that has done absolutely nothing, driven us out through discrimination and even wholesale removal through urban renewal programs in the 1960s and 1970s. That was called Negro removal, ladies and gentlemen, Negro removal. We got to do better than this. Let me put this up here for you. Reverend Amos Brown is the vice chair. This is now, remember I showed you the video a few weeks ago where you had another brother on there that was a bishop, an older man, and he said he didn't like the idea that Brother Brown was on both the San Francisco Reparations Committee and the California Reparations Committee. He thought it was a conflict of interest. Reverend Amos Brown is the vice chair of the Governor Greg Newsom's nine-person reparation committee. He is also part of the San Francisco African American Reparations Advisory Committee, which published their 5 million suggestion in December. But he has now said that the money would be better spent in a community in statement for the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. Let me go ahead, if I can, and show you that video as a reminder. I clipped the video to let you hear what this is a well-known bishop who spoke out. Let's hear that bishop again. You heard it a couple weeks ago, but I clipped it enough so that you can really hear what the brother is talking about. Here we go.
1852 to 1892. We won't change that and receive our money, gold, and land from the port. And I'm also prepared to file for reparation for all the blacks in America and do it the right way. Okay, I'm prepared to do that because I've been in this for 50 years. I have material, a lot of material for everything, for all of it. I've done the research and the studies on it, okay? And I might not file from an American court. I might take it from the world's court when I file, okay? But I want y'all, if you're gonna do this, do it the right way, okay? And Mr. Amos Brown, from what I see here, it's a conflict of interest, what you doing. You here with the state and everything, sitting on the state panel and everything, and also then you're trying to get reparations in San Francisco. So, you know, the state and everything, they're paying it for the whole state if they pay it, you know. So it's a conflict of interest what you're doing. So don't mess around and go to jail, okay? All right? Because I'm a powerful attorney general for the state of California. If the governor don't pull you out of there, I can.
Okay, next.
Tell the truth.
All right. So I don't know how many of you remember that when I did that show talking about the task force for reparations in Sacramento. They met March 3rd and 4th, and people spoke out to keep that committee on their toes and keep them honest about what they're doing. And Brother Dr. Amos Brown is a member of the National California Reparations Committee. He was appointed as one of the 9th people for under Governor Newsom. And he's also involved with reparations in San Francisco. That's why that brother was saying he feels that it doesn't look good because it seems like it's a conflict of interest. That was his opinion. That was his thoughts about it. I don't know what your thoughts are about it, but I can kind of personally see where there could be some conflict there for people who feel that way. I'm going to say once again, the NAACP has to be, they need to do what they would preach and tell us. And that is, make sure you write things correctly. Make sure you mean what you say and you do what you say. This looks bad because this went all across the country, all through the news. It looks bad. It sounds bad.
Tell the truth.
You got to mean what you say and do what you say. Let's see. He was on the Roland Martin show, and I'm going to play some of that for you right now. Here we go.
Let me be a truth teller. Is not against caste paper.
Fair use for education purposes,
but we're against
criticism purposes.
In a trick bag and set up for failure. And those members of the Board of Supervisors gave lip service to the concept, the idea of reparations. But beginning with the chair, he's the one who said no cash. And the chairperson of the Finance Committee, an Asian lady, Ms. Chan, said, we have a deficit in the city. And we
what they do to black people. Every time we are demanding and going about things politically to get what is due us, the excuses now in San Francisco particularly is we have a deficit, we ain't got no money. Wait a minute. San Francisco is the most expensive place in the world to live. The taxes are high in San Francisco. We got heavy tourism in San Francisco. The tourism is heavy in San Francisco. San Francisco's getting millions of dollars in tourism dollars every year. You see, in San Francisco, they'll spend money on what they want for the groups that they choose to spend money. They never, when it comes to the gay community in San Francisco, particularly the white gay community, when the white gay community wants something spent for them, nobody says we ain't got the money. When black people decide we want something, now all of a sudden, San Francisco, one of the richest cities, one of the most desired cities in the world, even though it's got a lot of problems with the homelessness and people walking around drugging up, which is a damn shame. That's my daughter in the room. they got nothing for us. They got something for everybody else but us. San Francisco decided, just like New York and many other Democrat-run states, they decided to become a sanctuary state. Why would you become a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city when you already have problems with homelessness with the locals in your city and the people that come from outside of San Francisco? San Francisco has the homeless problem that it has because people are coming from outside the city. Look at this brother right here. 38% of the homelessness in San Francisco are made up of black people, but black people only make up 6% of the population. Again, I'm going to tell you, when we once made up 13%. How can we be 38% of the homeless population out of 6%? Because why? We have no money, we have no generational wealth, and black people have been discriminated against and cut out of job and out of opportunities in San Francisco. Systematically over years and decades. They decided to become a sanctuary city, didn't take it to a vote. Nobody in California voted to say we want to be a sanctuary city. Now you got these influx of immigrants and illegals coming into San Francisco. Remember a couple of years ago, one of these illegals took the life of a woman. They let these illegals come in, and now they're sucking off the system. Now they're impacting black people at 38% that are homeless who need the services. Now San Francisco is spending money on trying to take care of these illegals who don't belong here. I'm telling y'all right now, immigration is not the friend of black people. Immigration will hurt black people. It's hurt black people in San Francisco.
Get out of this. The point, brother, I'm making is that we must not let our adversaries, whoever they may be, set us up for another study, another to be put on a shelf and to collect dust. We must have action, and action now. We believe in cash.
Fair here. I agree with Dr. Amos Brown. We need action, less talk and more action, and we don't need another study. However, brother, you're on two committees, two task force that are about what? A study. You're on the task force. People told you when you came to Sacramento, let's get it done. So your task force needs to get it done, the national task force. You're already on the task force in San Francisco. So when you say we need to get it done, well, you're part of the task force in San Francisco. So get it done.
Tell the truth.
Information is power.
Plus, it's not either or.
So when you say the setup,
It's two wings for birdie.
so when you say there's a setup going on here, are you saying that what is happening is you've had a lot of people, a lot of commenting from people on this very issue?
What I was saying before I muted my mic, I'm sorry, folks, is that I agree with the term setup. It is a setup. I do agree with that whenever black people want something that is due us, we're put in a trick bag and set up. That's the truth.
Tell the truth.
And so there are people who have been opposing direct payments. They've been attacking them. They've said, oh, this is going to bankrupt individuals in San Francisco, things like. So you believe that if that is how it's set up, it's guaranteed never to pass. Is that what you're saying?
They did not on Tuesday night vote at all. This thing has been delayed until October. And I feel that we should not be delaying doing the right thing. Dr. King.
Now, this is where I agree with him. He said that the reparations has now been delayed in San Francisco to October. which is nothing but what we call a stall tactic, ladies and gentlemen. So I got to be honest in my criticism about this whole thing, that what Dr. Amos Brown is saying is true. You know why? Most of the people that are on YouTube or social media talking about this, who are not from San Francisco, don't understand San Francisco politics like I do, because I grew up there. That's what San Francisco politics has always done to black people. Anything we want, they stall, they stall, and they stall, and they stall.
He said the time is always right to do right. They could have easily said, we support cash payments to, and even if we are facing a deficit, we can establish a payout plan. But they did not. And the mistake of the chairperson, he meant well, but he said to National Public Radio that there was no math formula for this $5 million.
This brother right here, Shaman Walter, he is the chair, if I'm not mistaken, of the reparations committee. He is a board member in San Francisco. Amos is saying that there was no math formula. And I have to agree that you do need to come up with some type of math formula because it has to make sense. However, black folks need a check and it needs to be cut, and you give us that and we can do a hell of a lot with that. And I'm sick of hearing Negroes out there say, if you give black people money, they gonna spend it up. Don't worry about what other black people do with their money. You make sure you do right with your damn money.
It was just something that was taken out of thin air, that was put into the document. And that was unfortunate, for then the general public began to focus on the $5 million with no plan. And even if we had a problem with the deficit, somebody should have said, we can get from the private sector monies to establish a reparation fund. We have billionaires in San Francisco per capita than any major city in the United States, according to a recent study.
Did you hear what he just said? We have billionaires. We have billionaires in San Francisco. We have more billionaires per capita in San Francisco than any major city in the country. So it ain't like there's no money in San Francisco, and these billionaires are investing in many things. Do you hear what he's saying?
So I just feel, and my constituent base feels, we must be deliberative, and we must move to bring about redress and restoration.
So
black people in the city and the.
All right, so Dr. Brown, so here's the deal. Guys, go to my iPad. This is the press release that was sent out, and this is where I think there's confusion. The press release says the San Francisco NAACP today called upon the Board of Supervisors to reject a one-time $5 million reparations payment to blacks, but instead call upon the city to make investments in 5 key areas to atone for a history of racism, discrimination, and mistreatment. Now, you said, and it lays out in here what those 5 are, and that is invest in education, economic empowerment, housing, health care, and Fillmore Heritage Center. Now, you said that you believe in payments and this. So again,
yes.
Okay. So, but the statement doesn't address payments, and so people assumed
that was a misprint. Let me admit it. That was a misprint. That line was left out of there. That was a misprint. But the basic position, what I'm saying, Brother Roland, is we definitely support payment. But you got to have a plan.
Now, I agree with you, hard cold. I don't want a lot of programs because programs are just going to be bureaucracy. You give black people the money that need it and we can take care of ourselves. However, what Amos Brown is saying here is correct, that he doesn't want it to become a trick bag where the calculations are screwed up, and this committee, because remember, this committee ain't made up of just black people. A lot of the people that work in city government in San Francisco don't look like me and you. He don't want to give them any excuse to be able to vote against it and move it right off the agenda. Now, let me just play this back here, what he's saying, and make sure if you have not subscribed to the Information Man Show and you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell notification.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Hear this again.
That was a misprint, but the basic position.
Look, nobody can hear me. I'm sorry. Now my mic is working. What I'm trying to say right now, when you couldn't hear me before, is that Dr. Amos Brown, pastor of Third Baptist Church in San Francisco, says that it was a misprint. I'm simply saying the NAACP is a national organization. Wouldn't you at least have people that would proofread? Wouldn't you proofread it to make sure that it's what you want the world to know? Because part of the reason why the NAACP and you, Dr. Brown, are getting this pushback is because you put out something that was, in your mind right now, what you said is a misstatement or a misquote or a misprint, but you can't afford to have this kind of controversy. And this controversy could have been eliminated where you wouldn't see the NAACP in San Francisco getting no pushback right now, or you, Dr. Amos Brown, getting any pushback, had the simple thing, which is read it, proofread it, make sure it's your statement. Now, this is just my opinion. Take it as you will. I believe that I want to jump out the window with this. I believe in a lot of ways it was how they felt, but they just weren't expecting to get the pushback that they got. And when they got the pushback that they got from the public, then like anything, you got to come back and do a press conference, or you got to do your rounds around mass media. And now you have to recant what was written because you're getting bad press right now. I think that it was put out, and that's exactly how how it was felt when it was written, because if you didn't feel that way, it wouldn't have been written like that in the first place. And that's what my personal gut tells me, that this is nothing but damage control by coming out with a statement, because when you put it out on the 14th and things didn't go well from the 14th to the 15th, then on the 16th, you had to recant it because it did not look good for you as the president of the NAACP of San Francisco, and it did not look good for the NAACP's image in the eyes of the larger society, black people in San Francisco, and black people nationally. So you had to recant it by saying, oh, here's the clarification. It was a misprint. I personally believe that it wasn't a misprint. It was just a way to try to see if you could shut the noise down of people criticizing, and you just got caught, in my opinion, as they say, with your pinky toe. You just got caught. That's all. Let's just be honest about this. This is about truth. We got to be honest with our people and just say, hey, that's how we felt. We realize that the community don't agree with it, so now we're going to go with what the community wants, even though that's not really what we think. See, whatever happened to people just being honest about that? No, because you'll get raked over the coals again. Let's go back to this.
What I'm saying, Brother Roland, is we definitely support payment, but you got to have a plan.
So Pastor Brown,
But see, look, you never said in the first statement that you supported reparations. It was all against it. This is why Roland Martin is also feeling confused too. That's why he's trying to get clarification here. Let's hear it.
I just want to be clear. Go back to my iPad. The statement that was released The headline says San Francisco NAACP rejects $5 million reparations payment to blacks.
That's the headline.
And then it says it in the so you're saying that this statement that was released publicly, this statement is wrong.
That's right.
Okay, it's
So
wrong.
the San Francisco NAACP supports direct payments plus investments to the black community.
That's right. And in the 100 plus recommendations, some of the same things are listed. What we introduced in 2019. You see, I introduced the idea of reparations to this community. On the 30th of July.
So this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what happened. Amos Brown is saying that he introduced the idea of reparations to this community. What is he talking about? He's talking about, this is what it was, 100 recommendations made by city-appointed reparations committee, okay, task force with the question of how to atone for centuries of slavery and systematic racism. And the San Francisco Board of Supervisors hearing the report for the first time, which happened on Tuesday, some Tuesdays ago, the voice enthusiasm support for the idea listed as, with some saying money should not stop the city from doing the right thing. Several supervisors said that they were surprised to hear, check this out, this is the so-called liberal San Francisco that ain't so liberal. This is the so-called San Francisco who ain't done nothing for black folks, as we are declining in our numbers. The several supervisors in San Francisco were surprised to hear pushback from the political liberal,
Tell the truth.
several supervisors in San Francisco, like this brother right here. He was the one that jumped out the window with the five. I believe that this is Brother Walter who jumped out the window with the $5 million and told Dr. Amos Brown, according to Dr. Amos Brown, that he didn't really have the math figured out, but he put it out there. I'm just saying, folks. Several supervisors said they were surprised to hear that pushback from political liberal San Francisco, apparently unaware that the legacy of slavery and racism policies continue to keep black Americans, black people who are descendants of those slaves, of black slaves, on the bottom rung of health, education, economic prosperity, overrepresentation in prison, and homeless population, as again 38% of black people in San Francisco are laying on the streets like this black man right here. And a part of that is due to mental illness, healthcare issues, lack of job opportunity. I get it, but racism and the lack of generational wealth contribute to this man being on these streets, along with any other issues in life that he dealt with. Maybe he didn't get education. Maybe he didn't get any of these things that Brown is saying that is important. Maybe he's a victim of the educational system of San Francisco, just like I was, where you have racist teachers. Maybe he's a victim of the institution of this so-called liberal city called San Francisco. Even if he's not from San Francisco, this brother is a victim of some of the American nightmare institution of this country. Let's continue here.
Our national convention in Detroit, Michigan. So let there be no mistake about it. We support cash plus.
Jonathan Kidd, thank you for being here.
So you support the $5 million, but you also to individual African Americans, but you also want further investment in black institutions.
Even the $5 million is not enough for the hell, the horror, and the hardship of our people. You can't put a dollar sign
there was completely, boom, this was completely right. You can't put a dollar sign on what happened to our people. You can't put a dollar sign on any of it. So I'm glad that Dr. Amos Brown is making these statements because it's truthful. So I'm trying to do a very balanced broadcast here. I have my criticisms of the brother, but I also have to acknowledge when he's saying something that's correct. However, you should never jump out the window and release statements that have not been clarified by people in your organization because you're the president of the San Francisco NAACP.
Tell the truth.
Chapter of San Francisco. How did black people get here, ladies and gentlemen? You say, well, what is the history of black people in California? Because there's going to be some fools out there. They're going to say, well, y'all don't deserve nothing. Well, let's go over the history a little bit of this situation with California. Let's go over, let's just give you a brief summary. And then I'm going to break down to you what's the eligibility to get the reparations. You're wondering about that. Here's a nice little history for you right here. The earliest black residents in California were Afro-Latino slaves brought by the Spanish. Remember, California was once controlled by the Spanish. Remember that. Eventually, they were pushed out of here. But the Spanish, which is why this is why you have all these Spanish names like San Jose, San Francisco. That's why you have a lot of Spanish names in California, because the Spaniards settled here and had control of territory before they were pushed out of here. Now, that's where you get the earliest black residents being in California were the Afro-Latino slaves brought by the Spanish. Then you had African-American migrant who migrated from the southern states like Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas to California during the Second Great Migration.
Tell the truth.
Okay, this is about history. It's about knowledge. It's about knowledge. Black population in California has been declining, though, ladies and gentlemen, as of right now. Let's go to the next one. It's about history. It's about knowledge, research. The earliest westward migration between 1850 and 1860, 4,000 blacks settled in California. Half of those black people out of that 14,000 chose to settle in San Francisco and Sacramento, California. Yeah. Creating the first English-speaking black urban communities in the far west. The closest western state to the old South that allowed blacks to homestead in the 1870s was Kansas City. Kansas. Now, why did African Americans move to California? Between 1942 and 1945, 340,000 African Americans migrated from the South and Midwest to pursue of higher paying jobs, just like we did in the North going to Detroit, higher paying jobs in defense plants of California cities. Wages were indeed higher, with opportunities open to both men and women. What was the first black community in California? Allensworth, and this is why America owes reparations. This is why California owes reparations. Allensworth was a thriving black community, an unincorporated community in Tulane County of California. Established by Allensworth in 1908, the town was the first in California to be founded, financed, this is our Black Wall Street, and financed by African Americans, by the government and African Americans. It's the first black community financed, founded, and governed by black Americans.
Information is power.
And they destroyed Allensworth. They took it from black people. They destroyed it. They did everything they can to undermine black people, just like they did in 1921 with Tulsa, Oklahoma. Truth.
Tell the truth.
And you ask, why does they owe black people in California reparations? Let's go back deeper. What was life like for African Americans in California during the gold rush? Establishing 1/3 of African Americans in California were illegally enslaved. 1/3 of African Americans in California were illegally enslaved. Black people listening to me, everybody listening to me, put a 7 in the chat room if you could hear what I'm saying, if you're with me. They often resided in cities or gold fields, in mining camps, living and working alongside free blacks. Their presence led to a abolition movement, especially in San Francisco, Oakland, Sacramento, and other cities. Let's go. Let's go. Did California never allow slavery? It's now the decreed that any black person who arrived pre-official statehood as a slave prior to September 1850 would be considered a slave. Yes, indeed, in California. In the eyes of the laws in California, this even though the California Constitution banned slavery and the state had come into a union as supposed a free state under the Compromise of 1850. So California was supposed to be a free state. They were supposed to follow the laws, but they didn't follow the laws. They still were trying to enslave people when they came here, even though California was supposed to be a free state back in those 1800s.
Tell the truth.
Now, when did black people start moving to Los Angeles, California? If you're wondering, this is just a little bonus here. Between 1890s and the 1910, African Americans migrated to Los Angeles from the southern places like Texas, Silverport, Atlanta, New Orleans to escape the racial violence, racism, white supremacy, and bigotry of southern United States.
Tell the truth.
Now let me give you one for bonus here.
Tell the truth.
One of the reasons why the LAPD has been so dangerous to black people in Los Angeles, because what they did is they recruited a lot of these Jim Crow police and Jim Crow white racist white police and white men from the South up to the West Coast to join the police department. That was the beginning of how the LAPD was so brutal to black people. Not to mention that the sheriff's department in the LA area is a damn near a gang. They have police officers that I'm going to do a story about this. This has been very, very serious. Let me read what Big Man has put in the chat room right now. He gave me a good super chat here. And let's put this up. Let's put this up right now. I'm going to read this as soon as I can get this in here. Big Man gave me a $20 super chat, which I really appreciate. And Big Man says this: actually, the African Americans, actually the Africans to come to California are the Cohufi. I can't pronounce that, brother, but they were a Native American tribe that migrated from Africa to California thousands of years before any Spaniards, Europeans did do better research. Brother, let me just say to you right now, I'm not talking about that particular era. I'm talking about the migration of when black people got here, the migration from the South to America. I'm not talking about a Native American tribe. I'm not denying that Native people were not already here. I'm talking about the great migration of black people from the South and how black people got to San Francisco. Don't tell me about do better research. My research is on point. I'm not talking about no native tribes that was here. I said that Spanish brought Afro-Latinos over here because the Spanish came over and colonized. We know that native people were here. I'm talking about the people that came over here and established and controlled the damn land as it relates to slavery. Now, what did I say? I said black people migrated. I'm talking about the Great Migration. How did black people get to California at that time? I'm talking about as it relates to slavery. I'm not talking about native tribes or black native tribes. And just so you know, for your information, big man, I'm part Native American. I'm Chickasaw and got the goddamn documentation. I'm not talking about Native American. I'm talking about the historical history of black people, how they got to California, the ones that are lineaged, that came off them damn slave ships. Black people that were in Jim Crow. I'm not talking about black natives that were here that weren't put into slavery, weren't put into Jim Crow. I'm talking about the black people that were the ones who deserved those reparations in California and the ones that deserve those reparations in San Francisco. That's what I'm talking about. And my research is reflecting those group of black people. Thank you for the super chat. But before you make those statements, because you weren't here in the beginning of my show, before you make those statements, make sure you know what the hell I'm talking about in terms of the context. We're not talking about Native American blacks or Native Americans. We're talking about how did black people get here in these cities in the first place, such as creating a place like Allensworth. Those Native Americans you're talking about, they didn't create Allensworth. I'm talking about those black folks. Excuse me, y'all.
Information is power.
Tell me about my damn research. I know about, how you gonna tell me about research? I'm part Native American my damn self. I know about the damn history of black Native Americans. Matter of fact, did you know this? Most Native Americans enslaved black people. Huh? Do your research. Most of these Native American tribes, like the what's that? Everybody says they're Cherokee. Most of these Native American tribes here in this land enslaved other black people, and they were working as bounty hunters for the white man. Please don't get me on that. Don't let me have to do a show. And I'll bust it wide. I'll bust that history wide open. No, thank you for the super chat, brother. But don't tell me about doing some more research when my research and my discussion today is primarily focused on a particular group of black people that came here at a certain time. And it's a fact that the Spanish did come over here and colonize this part of the world. In terms of California, and that's a historical fact. That's why, as I said before, I'm from California. Don't tell me my damn history. That's why I said before, when you look at California, a lot of the names of the cities in this California are Spanish names. All right, let's move on. Thank you for the super chat, my brother, but don't come in here telling me about do better research. No, my research is focused as it relates to San Francisco, as it relates to these reparations and the people that I just named in the history that I went over. Those are the people who are getting the reparations, not them Native American folks that you just talked about who ain't around. I'm talking about black folks that's there right now. All right, let's get back on track here. Now, let me go ahead and thank you all for being here. I give you all a clap. As I was saying before, that's why you have a lot of these corrupt police departments in California, particularly in LA, because they recruited a lot of these Jim Crow white men and cops up to LA. And that's one of the reasons why you have the problems that you have in California as it relates to policing, particularly in the Los Angeles area. Now, what I want to show you, you may ask yourself, what makes people eligible for this reparations as it relates to San Francisco reparations? Let's show you right now. Let's read this right now. This is right off of the committee's pages. Eligibility for reparations. An individual who has identified as Black African American on public documents for at least 10 years. So you have to be an individual who has identified yourself as Black African American on public documents for at least 10 years. But remember, this is lineage based. So it can't be someone who doesn't have lineage here. I just want to keep that in mind with folks. Now, next, you must be at least 18 years or older. You must meet at least 2 criteria from the following list. Must have supporting documentation, meaning you got to be able to prove, folks, that you have that lineage, that your family has a history in California. You have to be able to get that you got to get that documentation together. That's going to be one of those things that will be tricky for some people, is whether you have the proper documentation. You got to have that together. Born in San Francisco between 1940 and 1996, and has proof of residency in San Francisco for at least 13 years. For at least 13 years. Migrated to San Francisco between 1940 and 1996 and has proof. Next one. A personal or the direct descendant of someone incarcerated by the failed war on drugs. But you once again have to have lineage. You once again have to have lineage. Records of attendance in San Francisco public schools during the time of consent decree to complete desegregation within the school system. Descendant of someone enslaved through United States shackled slavery before 1865. Displaced or direct descendant of someone replaced from San Francisco by urban renewal between 1954 and 1973. Urban renewal was just another word for we're going to remove Black people. It was Negro removal. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
List or the direct descendants of a certification of preferred holder. Certificate of preferred holder, a list of direct descendants. So if you can prove that you have all these people in your family who are direct descendants of the Jim Crow, the slavery in this country, direct descendants, then you can be eligible. Members of a historical marginalized group that experience leading. Now, I don't like this part right here. This is the one where you start crowboying other people in. Well, let's read this. Members of a historical marginalized group. I don't like that. That sounds like that Democratic talk, that political talk. A marginalized group that experienced lending discrimination in San Francisco between 1937 and 1968, or subsequently experienced lending discrimination in formerly red-line San Francisco communities between 1968 and 2008. They got to change this wording from marginalized, because when you say marginalized, now you bring all these other people in who can say that they've been marginalized. You bring in other ethnic groups who should not be a part of this claim. This should have said members of this should have been Black descendants of slavery that experienced lending discrimination in San Francisco between these years and subsequent to experience of lending discrimination and redlining. That's what that should have said. They got to take that marginalized stuff out of there. That's the criteria, ladies and gentlemen, for...
Tell the truth.
That's the criteria, ladies and gentlemen. That's the criteria, ladies and gentlemen, for reparations in San Francisco as of right now. Let me also bring something to your attention. This was highlighted in an article. This is why they got in trouble, because The NAACP of San Francisco issued a statement urging the Board of Supervisors to reject the $5 million payment in favor of reparations that focus on investment in the black community. Reverend Amos Brown, president of San Francisco branch, told the board to instead focus on investing in education, jobs, housing, but they have recanted that, folks. Right here in another article here, the plan, which was released in draft from December, mandates that $5 million lump sum payment to each eligible adult black resident would also wipe out a debt and guarantee annual pay in line with the area median income. What is that? $97,000 in 2022 to those eligible for the next 250 years. Reparation proposal that would give every eligible resident $5 million. Now that has been changed now. And of course, as I said before, they have taken back their statements. The NAACP has resolved. The NAACP demand that 117 United States Congress and President Joe Biden utilize all available options to immediately establish a commission to study and recommend comprehensive programs. Look, they already got the H-40 bill that's gone nowhere. The Republicans are controlling the House, and he's asking something that's not going anywhere that has already been put out there. The reparations H.R. 40 bill has been out for over 30 years now, and they haven't done anything with it. Those black folks, those congressional black folks in Washington, D.C. have done nothing. They've been stalling. The do nothing Black Caucus has been stalling and doing nothing. But they're saying here, we need President Biden, here we go, the great white hope to save us, utilize all available options to immediately establish a commission to study and recommend. Why do black people always have to have a study for what we need, but everybody else don't get a study? They get what they want when they want it without any study. Study and recommend a comprehensive program of compensation, reparation policies for black Americans, descendants of, they already have the H.R. 40 bill. Come on, y'all, do better than this. Now, let me show you something that you may not be aware of. I want to show y'all something. 70%, remember I said earlier in the show, 77% of black Americans compared with 18% of white Americans support reparations for descendants of enslaved people. Check this out. All United States adults, 68% say no, 30% say yes. White people across the board say 80% of them say no to reparations to black people, while 18%, as I said before, say yes. Black people, 17% of the raccoons of black people say no to it. That's 17% raccoons out there that say no to it. Then 77% of black people say yes to it, as you already know. Now, check this out. They keep telling us that black people, that it's all about people of color and marginalized groups, that we got a black and brown coalition, black people, you're all in a rainbow coalition with all these other people. That's bullshit, because Hispanics, if you're wondering where I got these statistics came from Peer Research. You can look this up. Peer Research is a website that has all these statistics and breaks it down. This is Peer Research data here. And it says here that Hispanics, Latinos, or Latinx, at 58%, they are against reparations. 39% of them say yes to reparations. And check this out, it's even higher amongst Asian people. Asians say no to reparations. 65% of Asians in this country say no to reparations, while 33% say yes. So we got Asians, whites, so much for the black and brown coalition, so much for this rainbow coalition, so much for this marginalized people. And then you remember Joe Biden sat up there and said to me and you, Joe Biden sat up there when he got elected and said that you ain't black enough if you don't vote for him, that black people ain't black enough. He sat up there in that secret meeting that they had that got exposed on social media, where he told those black politicians, y'all gonna have to work with the Hispanics and the Latinos and the Latinx because they got the population that's growing. Y'all gonna have to work with them. Oh, we're gonna have to work with them, right? Yeah. 58% of them ain't down with our reparations movement. They saying hell to the no. Asians at 65%. Ladies and gentlemen, black people, these old school black politicians and these old civil rights black folks ain't gonna tell you what I'm telling you and what we be talking about over here anyway, is that black people wake up. We have no friends. There is no coalition. We got plenty of enemies, and we only got ourselves. We got a lot of these other people who are going to be against what we're trying to do. But when they want something, do you see black people coming out in large numbers protesting to get what other people get? No. But they'll protest against what we need to get, what we should get, what we're due to, what we have lineage to. So this whole thing about, oh, it's a people of color. No, get away from that. The people of color term is a political term that Democrats use when they don't want to tell you what they're going to exactly do for black people. So when you ask them, hey, what do you think about reparations? What are you going to do for us? They'll turn around and say, it's about marginalized people. It's about the equity. And it's about us working together as people of color. That's political bull crap. We ain't no people of color. And the other people of color, they're not even down with our movement. They're not even in support of it. So how the hell we got a coalition with some of these people? So when you hear these politicians, whether Republicans or Democrats, talking that crap, you know they're blowing smoke up your you know what ass. You know they're blowing smoke up your behind. Make sure you do me the biggest favor, everybody, and share this video. Share this video in all your social media. I really appreciate it.
Tell the truth.
Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share the video. I appreciate you all. We got, I'm going to shout some people out here. We got Jazz and Virgo saying, good evening, Information Man and Mods. Thank you. Thank you very much. We got Tiffany Jackson coming over saying, great show, Information Man. Thank you. Thank you. Let me say to Brother Man, Big Man, I understand the history. I understand the history, brother. I understand that Native Americans were here. Big Man, because I'm man enough to do this. I apologize, Big Man, because you support my channel. I apologize if you felt disrespected by what I said. I'm not denying the Native American aspect of the history of Native America. Look, when you talk about Native people, they were here first, right? Native people who look like us were here first. We're all over the planet. I totally get that. But what I'm talking about is what I'm talking about is the migration of black people from the South into California and what happened to us. So the slides that I put up, everybody, was related to that particular part of our history, which is why we deserve the reparations. That's all I was trying to say. I'm not saying that you were not wrong, but I took it personal when you said, well, do more research. And I get what you're saying by doing more research, but because you weren't here at the beginning of my show, you missed a portion of where I was going to understand why I focused on that portion of the history and not the Native American portion, which does not really play a factor into this particular issue right now, you see. So I appreciate you again. I appreciate the super chat again. I appreciate all of you again. Let me say, I want to say DOD is in California. Look, DOD. Let it be known in the chat room, brother, you in California just like me. Am I telling the truth? Wait a minute. What about Russell City? Oh, I haven't even talked about Russell City out there in the East Bay where I think you at, brother. Russell City is a black town in the Hayward area of the East Bay. There's so many places. There's so many things I can't even name. There's places that I'm not even aware of that I can't name. DOD know what I'm talking about. Russell City, which was basically Hayward, California, where black people got marginalized out of Russell City. And let me also say this too. They're trying to compare this. Check this out. Let me read something to you. Check this out. Remember this? Chicago suburb of Evanston became the first. What I'm reading to you is a lie, ladies and gentlemen. This is not true. Check this out. DOD, you know what I'm talking about. You from California. You know that what I was focusing on was the information related to where we are in California. And thank you again, big man, for both your super chats, brother. Both your super chats. I appreciate you. Let me see what Big Man 7917. I know I came at you harsh, brother, but no disrespect to you. I respect you. He says, I get what you are saying in the context. However, you said original black people of California. Okay. Well, let me see right here. Maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. Let me just say it like this. This is what I was saying. Here, let's put it right here. What I was saying in the beginning is that the earliest black residents meaning people when the country at this part of California was being developed, right? So in the beginning, I said the earliest black residents in California were Afro-Latino slaves. How about slaves? Native Americans were never enslaved or were never put in slave, brother, that I know of. I'm talking about the earliest black residents in California were Afro-Latino slaves brought by the Spanish. I'm talking about, maybe I should have clarified it. I'm talking about at that particular era when the Spanish controlled California. That's the portion of the history I'm talking about. Then I said African Americans migrated from the South, the Great Migration, right? That's the second Great Migration. I'm talking about that portion of the history. So if I said the first black people, okay, that's a slip of the tongue. But I think everybody gets what I'm saying. Now, Big Man said this. It was who migrated from African before Spanish brought, they were examined by the Spanish. Before the Spanish brought slaves, they were exterminated by, but that's my point. The natives were never enslaved because, yes, they were exterminated. But guess what, my brother? Tell me if I'm wrong or right, Big Man 7917. Didn't the native people get their reparations? Didn't they get, even though they put them on bad land, don't the Native Americans get all types of money every year? They get thousands and millions and thousands of dollars that's been given to tribes. Obama himself gave millions of dollars to about 17 tribes. And in California, they get money. So you're right, they got wiped out. But see, that's the thing. That's the history. We're talking about black folks that were still alive who didn't get wiped out, that came here and got treated poorly. Those natives that you're talking about, they got eliminated by the Spanish, and then after they eliminated them, they brought us over here. I'm talking about that history. Because the natives were never put into bondage slavery like us. They were never made to build the railroads. And let me just make sure y'all know this history. A lot of people think that the Chinese built all the railroads in this country. That's a lie. The Chinese built the rest of the railroads leading to the western part of the country. By the time they brought the Chinese over here to work on the railroads, it was black people, black men in particular, who built the majority of the railroads and laid down those tracks across the majority of this country. The railroad going into the western part of the country, they brought the Chinese over to finish up that portion of the railroad system into California. But the majority of the railroads were built by black people prior to even the Chinese coming over here being put on the railroads. And remember, when we built the railroads, we didn't get paid for it, even though the Chinese got paid for their work on the railroad. We got paid nada. Now, what I wanted to say here is that Evanston in Chicago is not a reparations program. This is a lie right here. Chicago's suburb of Evanston became the first United States city to fund reparations. No, it's not. It's a housing program. The city gave money to qualified people for home repair, down payments and interest, and late penalties due on their property. In December, the Boston City Council approved a reparations study task force in Boston, Massachusetts. But let it be known here, and I think Tone Talks talked about this on his channel, and shout out to him. The program in Evanston, Illinois, in Chicago area, is not a reparations program. It's simply a housing program. It's not pure reparations. Let's get that right.
Tell the truth.
Because people have been thinking that because that's what the news and everyone puts out there, and it's not true. It's a housing program if you study it very closely. Big man, thank you for that super chat again. And the back and forth banter. Let's see. Let's go right here. Jackie's in the house. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong here. There we go. Let's go right here.
Tell the truth.
Jackie says, facts. Olivia Johnson Henry laid that hammer down. Right. Thank you, my sister. Thank you for your kind words, DOD know what I'm talking about. See, he from California. He knows the things that go on. We got Soldier Girl in the house. What's going on? Soldier Girl. Where's my cousin? Or Evanston. Yeah, Evanston, they did, no, don't get me wrong. They did black people wrong in Evanston with the homes that they had. But what they did in Evanston was simply do a housing program to deal with allowing black people to be able to move into those homes affordably, and to also help black people get back in their homes that lost their homes because of the property values being out of whack. So what they did was a good thing, but it's not a traditional reparations program because it was dealing with a particular area of housing. And I'm going to say this again, because in the NAACP and their 5 key points, they said that black people need public housing. No, black people need in San Francisco the ability to have home ownership. It's only through home ownership that you can build wealth as a person. Hey, what's going on, Sugar Love? Home ownership, let me correct myself. Home ownership is one form of building wealth. Not the only form, but it's one form for what you would call average people who didn't grow up with generational wealth from the very beginning. What's going on, Jill Chocolate Boutique? Love you there. DOD says right here, info, you are right. Thank you, brother. Rob Allbanks says this: all these folks for reparations need to come together because it's gonna be the only real way. We all gotta be in on it, right? We gotta come together. Oh, let's see, we got the beautiful, oh yes, we got Healthy G Mom. What's going on? Healthy G Mom, thank you for coming by. You give me goof bumps. All right, I really love Healthy G Mom. She has a great channel. Check out her channel. Very supportive sister. And I'm glad to see you over here, my good sister. Really happy to see you over here. And I'm glad to see Sugar Love and just everybody that's come in. Empress got us. Glad to see her. Yeah. Peggy Roster says the NAACP was not originally established by blacks. Yes, it was established by Jewish people. It wasn't established by black people originally. That's a fact. And I think W.E. Du Bois was kind of like the front man when they built when they brought the NAACP into reality. I think that, oh, wait a minute, Bella Brown, oh, Brown girl, Bella, what's going on, 0608 to you? Yeah. Woo. She's in the house. Oh, I can't forget my man, Dominique Jones, yes. Now, no, I respect Big Man. Big Man made a good point. He was talking about that. It is true. The Spanish brought the natives were here first. We know that. The natives were here first. The Spanish came over and wiped them out. They gave them smallpox. They moved them out of their land when you had the Trail of Tears. I understand that history. It's just that I'm not talking about that portion of the history. And he corrected me. He said, well, you said when the first blacks, well, what I'm really trying to say is to be correct about this, is when black people first started to migrate out of slavery into California, coming from the South over here. That's what I really meant to say. So, big man, once again, I say again, brother, I'm a humble brother. Thank you again for your statements. You know, oh, we got brother Earl Owens. He's been supporting the channel for a long time. We got the real Aaron Collins. Thank you again for coming over. Brown Bella girl. Hey, and make sure, especially for the ladies, because especially to the ladies, make sure y'all check out Brown Girl Bella's channel. Make sure you check out Healthy G-Mom as well. Make sure you check out her channel. Make sure you check out Soldier Girl channel as well. Alan Christian, thank you again for your support. Says it's important that FBA for us to stick together because no one is going to care about us except for us black folks. Yes. Did I miss anybody? I probably missed a bunch of people that came in. We got Goddess Don who came in the house. Just Alicia, thank you for being here. Let me see. We got my man Jonathan Kidd. Thank you, brother. Jonathan Kidd said, real talk, we all gotta be in on it. He's right. You're telling the truth.
Tell the truth.
We all gotta be in on it. I'm not going to deny anything that you just said, brother. You on it. DOD is speaking to Sister Brown Girl Bella. That's nice. Old Reliable just came in. Peace and respect to you, Old Reliable. Let me get you up here and say thank you. Okay. Old Reliable said most of the early Black Panther Party was founded by Black Vietnam veterans. And guess where it was founded at? Oakland, California. Exactly. Oakland, California. Looking for more people's statements. We got the Empress Goddess Spiritual in the house. Peace to you. DOD's from California like me. He says, yep. I'm trying to see. Maybe I missed some people from let me see. Who did I miss that came through here earlier on? Let me see. I'm going to go back into my other list of names. We got Reps in the house. We had Indian Exposed Investigation that was here today. L Boogie was in the house. Nikki C. Divine Perfection was in the house today. Jasmine Virgo, of course, in the house. I'm just looking back at some of my old messages in my system because there were people who came through. We got Love Life that came in here too earlier. These are people that I wasn't able to shout out because I was too deep into my diatribe at that time, trying to focus on the content at the time. And let's go back up here and let me see what we got right here. Let me see. She's saying what's up to DOD. Yeah, definitely support each other's channels, drop people's links. I don't mind about that. This is about working together. Let me see. Jasmine Virgo says this. So where or when does Queen Khalifa come into play? Oh, I'm glad you said that because the state seal of California, which has a white woman on it, but the true woman was Queen Khalifa. The real image is supposed to be a black woman on the state seal. Queen Khalifa she controlled part of California. She was the guardian of California. She would go at war with people. Then when they would come into California, it was a black woman who was a warrior. And she guarded the western coast and she would go after people, pirates and all sorts of things. When you look at the state seal, you're looking at really what should be a black woman, Queen Khalifa. A lot of people don't know that about California because they don't tell our history. They want to keep and this is why what's going on in Florida with that governor is dangerous. They're trying to make black history illegal. What I just said to you could be considered illegal in the state of Florida. What I said to you would be seen as critical race theory. And I would never be able to say this in Florida and teach this in Florida. And maybe this is going to spread across the country. Oakland, California, Black Panthers got that name, Black Panther, from the Lourdes Country, Alabama, as I'm sure you know. Wow, good information. Good information.
Tell the truth.
King Lion Crown, what's up, everybody? What's up, man? I appreciate you coming in and supporting the channel. Let me see if I missed showing you anything else that needs to be shown. Let me see if I missed anything that you need to see before I end the program. Oops, you can't hear me. Once again, I had the mute on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play a video for you, audio for you that you're going to hear. That's going to be very interesting. In a moment, as I end this, you're going to hear it as I end the program. If you've got something out of the program today and you learned something, hit a 7 in the chat room. I appreciate you supporting me. Share this in your community tab. Share this in your social media, your Twitter, your Facebook. Share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. Please share it, share it, share it. If you're a content creator, share it in your community tab. Share this video. Share it, share it, share it. Everyone needs to hear it. You know how YouTube likes to suppress this type of information. I appreciate you again. We're getting ready to get out of here and do what we got to do, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Tell the truth.
Information is power.
Peace, everybody.
Tell the truth.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Tell the truth.
Information is power.
I still have a rule. It's the Joe Madison show, and I deliberately keep it at a first time, a first name. There's a reason for that. I won't bother, but I'm certain Reverend Brown recognizes you. So go right ahead. Okay.
And my concerns and the emails that I'm getting from people within the community is, once again, a lot of us was born and raised in San Francisco. We had the privilege of having a lot of these programs that were established for us as Native Americans. Even some of my people went through the Patty Duke and all that other stuff, but I don't want to go into all that. And a lot of these programs ended up getting eradicated, eliminated as the generations went on, because what happened was the language was not strong enough, the information was not there. We had situations where my father was the one that named Jackie Robinson. He went to Washington, D.C. He lobbied for the development of the new housing developments in Hunters Point. All that came established. After 40 years, those houses were supposed to be owned by people living within San Francisco. You had people coming in that didn't understand the language, didn't understand what's going on. And then the information ended up getting voted out. And now none of these people that have been living in these places for over 40 years own these properties that were supposed to be owned. So there's a lot of experience.
Big man, thank you again for the super chat, my brother. No, let me see. Khalifa was the fictional queen of the island of California from the novel. Oh, okay. She was black. It was written by the 16th century poet Rodriguez de Monte. Thank you for that information. Look, we're all open to learning new things. We're all open to being corrected on any information that we have wrong or right. I appreciate that. Once again, Big Man 7917 for the $10 super chat and all the super chat that you've given me today. And keep this in mind, brother, you are always welcome here, always. And I see and hear what you're saying, and I acknowledge you, Big Man 7917. Thank you. Big Man 7917 has dropped on us, and this is what it's about. Teaching one, learning. I'm going to be honest, we all can be corrected, including myself. And it's also important to understand the context of which people are speaking. And that's why I'm man enough to be able to say that Big Man has dropped some valuable information on us today, and I appreciate him for that. All right, let's get back to it.
Experience of these programs that have been established to help chartered members of San Francisco that have now been, there's the percentage of black people living in San Francisco is, I think it's like 4% or 5%.
It went down. We did, hold on, slow down. We went from, I heard the news report and I was going to ask that question. How did it go from 16% down to 4%, but go ahead and finish up, and if you don't mind, put a question in there.
My question is, how does he feel that because I read the letter. The letter is circulating all over San Francisco that he imposed the stuff that he imposed.
Right.
How do you number one? Okay, that's wonderful. I understand you're concerned about the health care. I understand you're concerned, but you got a lot of developers that's coming in these developments that's coming in, there's not even African-American people working on the developments. Even Amos Brown is
what is your, ma'am, you got, I got to ask, listen, this is, you're going to understand something. This is my show. I hear you.
That's Joe Madison of Sirius XM Radio.
A question. What is your question? Okay, thank you.
Why does he feel that not receiving cash aid, which he's established that, will better benefit people when the history shows that it has not benefited us directly?
All right.
Madam, she did not, Joe. She did not even listen. I'm sorry, madam. I
read the letter.
Again,
well, you let him respond.
Let me say what I'm saying.
Please. Now, you're not going to listen. I don't know how y'all do talk radio in San Francisco, but the way I do it here, you had your piece. Clearly, there's some opposition there. We heard it in detail. And then when I said put a question in, and it's a good question. Now let him respond, because I'd like to hear his response, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. Go ahead. Go ahead, Reverend Amos, and then I'll get a response.
I repeat again, we are not against cash payments. But this $5 million is a red herring that was put in there. That is not practical, not substantive, but it's just something to tease and tantalize black folk. We are for cash, but you got to sit down and determine where the cash comes from. And my recommendation is, you won't just get it from the city coffers. You also have in this city, as I said earlier, billionaires.
Tell the
There
truth.
ought to be a reparations fund that is funded by the governmental coffers and by making appeals to people who have all this money to kick in the millions. That's it. And I hope people will sit down and listen to that.
Now,
I think
I'm sorry. I do have one question, and this is not for Reverend Brown. It's for you. Why? Because I heard him say, "How did they come up with the $5 million lump sum? Why not $6 million? Why not $8 million?"
Sorry.
And so that's a question that I would have. And then what I heard was somebody just threw that number out there. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Are you talking to me?
No, you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Thank you.
Well, from what I'm hearing from people that's emailing me and contacting me, nobody believes the $5 million per person is realistic. I mean, there's nobody that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to a lot of people.
Right.
I mean, people are looking at it based on the average cost of housing. They said, well, why don't you lower it to like $1,000? Even one family said they would take $1 million per person, or even if it had to come to $1 million per household, and people get $250,000. There's nobody that lives in San Francisco, that loves San Francisco, that's trying to bankrupt San Francisco, but nobody wants to be caught up with the trickery. A lot of people feel that these programs are already in existence. They already have programs that are in existence that have been put out by San Francisco, and that everybody benefits from programs already that's pre-existing. People are focusing in and concentrating in on the cash aid. Those programs already exist. And those that want to take advantage of them is there for them to take advantage of them. So throwing out these programs and stuff like that already exist for everyone that lives in San Francisco is unrealistic. People are talking directly about cash aid because these programs already exist.
But I get.
Don't let me respond to that.
Please go ahead. Go ahead, Reverend Brown.
Madam, please listen. It never was either or. It's both and. It takes two wings for a bird to fly and two wings for an airplane to stay in the air. And it's disingenuous to say.
Let me just tell you this. I'm a part.
Slow down.
Finish,
yeah, let him finish, and then I'll give you your response to him. Go ahead.
Let me finish. It is an approach that involves balance. It involves having options. You're going to put all your eggs in one basket on a $5 million that has been confirmed, that's not being thought out well, that was not based on any formula. Why set yourself up for nothing? But have something in which you say to the powers that be.
Brown,
let me ask this, Anastasia.
I don't think anybody.
Well, let me ask you this: let's say a magic wand is waved, and then somebody says, "You know what? Fine. Here's your $5 million." What would you do? You got a check for $5. Listen. What would you do if you had a check for $5 million?
If I had a check for $5 million, I would, number one, pay off all my debt so I could be debt free.
Tell the truth.
Right.
I would then invest into my grandkids' education. I would invest
Tell the
into
truth.
my daughter being able to have stability by having property, and I would put the rest of it into an equity fund so that whatever's left, my family can live off of it for the remaining of their life. Where
would you live? Where would you, I got it, and that's great. I hear you, and that's a good sound answer. Where would you live in San Francisco?
The majority of the blacks are living in Bayview Hunters Point, but the houses in Bayview Hunters Point are now $1 million.
That's you just proved you thank you. I'm glad you went there. You know how long $5 million would last?
It wouldn't last that long. That's why it.
Let me say, and that's why if black people were to have $5 million, and you know that the home prices are too high in San Francisco, then that would still give black people an option. Joe Madison. Now, I have respect for you, Joe, but I got to be honest. It still would give black people a better option than what black people have in San Francisco right now with the home prices, meaning it would give you the ability to move out of San Francisco if you chose to and to buy property cheaper somewhere else. Or if you chose to still invest in some kind of property in San Francisco, that still would be good because you could buy some property and rent the damn property out and make profit off of that or build a business. $5 million would still give black people a better opportunity than what the hell they got right now, Joe. Because right now we got black people sleeping on the ground like that. 38% of San Francisco homelessness is made up of black people. And we only make up 6% of the population in San Francisco. Once was 16% or it was 13%. Let's be honest here. Big Man super chatted me again. And Big Man says $10. He says, mainly the 5 citizen tribes, Choctaw, Seminole, Chickasaw, which I'm part of, and the Cherokee and Creek practice slavery. Yes, they did. I studied that too, brother. You're right. They did practice slavery. And guess who you know that they was messing with? Let's keep it real. A lot of those Native American tribes were putting us in slavery, or they were bounty hunting us for the white man. Black folks, let's keep that in context. Good point, and thank you for that super chat again.
Thank you for the super chat.
But I'm going to say again, black people are already struggling in San Francisco with no housing. You give them $5 million, you stand a better chance of having housing that you actually own, not rent. If you choose to buy, you stand a better chance of being able to survive a hell of a lot more than what they're surviving right now if they don't have money. Let's continue this.
That's just enough to cover one generation.
That's my point. And it's one, and now this is me talking, and I'm not there where you are. You said I would take part, I'd pay off all my bills.
Even if it covers one generation, that's one generation that could use that money to create further wealth. The goal is to take money and create more money out of the money that you have by proper investment and having ownership. That is what black people don't have enough of in America, is ownership, owning something, having something that you can write off on your taxes, having something that you can transfer to the next generation, something that you can gain you can get income off of. Ownership is better than having nothing at all. Ownership is better than owning nothing at all. And at least with the $5 million, black people, it gives black people more choice now than they got right now, if they were to get $5 million. And once again, I'm going to say this to everybody. I don't care about don't worry about what other black people going to do with their money and how they manage it. We got black folks on YouTube who teach you about money that you be watching on YouTube, that you can learn from. Or you can learn, you get a financial advisor. Yes, we do need to have education on how to manage our money. But let me say what I said to somebody another night. Black people and people in general think that black people going to get a lot of money and we don't know how to manage it. Look at all our banks in this country. Look at what happened in Silicon Valley with the Silicon Valley Bank, the SB&V, the VSB banks. Most of these banks in America that have been running into the dirt, who you think run these banks? White folks. Do we say that white people don't know how to run, who don't know how to manage money? There's a lot of white folks who do not manage money properly, and they got money. That whole situation in Silicon Valley is because the white people that run that bank, they ran it into the dirt. We have lots of banks in this country that got bailed out by this government because banking is, what do they do in banks? They invest the money that you put in the banks. We got Wall Street. Who runs Wall Street? A majority of white folks. Wall Street is nothing but gambling. So this whole thing about, well, you give black people money, they gonna spend it up and blow it. White folks blow money every day in the banking system and make you go bankrupt. All them people that had their investments in the Silicon Valley Bank, they've lost their money. If they had more, you're only gonna get $250,000 that the FDI, whatever they call that, is going to give you back money. If those people had more money in that bank, it's all gone. They're only going to get $250,000. If you had $1 million in that bank, they ain't going to give you $1 million back. White folks gamble with money every day in this society and blow it. What you think every time we go? What do you think 2008 and 2009 was when we went into a big recession? Because these white folks on Wall Street are playing around with the money and blowing it. So this whole thing about, well, black folks are the only people in the world who can't manage their money. White folks who have generational wealth blow their money. It's called Wall Street. It's called banking. It's called corporate America. But we don't go, but none of us run around calling white folks irresponsible with money, even though they have been irresponsible with money. This country has a big deficit. Who runs this country? Which primarily white people. And we're in debt to China and all sorts of things. We got debt ceiling things to deal with. And guess who runs the government? White folks. And you tell me that black folks don't know how to manage our money? The people that's in charge of this motherfucker don't know how to manage money properly. That's why we got all kind of debt, and that's why we got all kind of inflation.
Tell the truth.
I'd put some money aside for my grandchild or children's education. I would, this and that. And then whatever I have, but then where would you live? Well, because that's the one thing I have learned about San Francisco is that, hell, you can't even, millionaires can't even afford to live in San Francisco. That $5 million, correct me if I'm wrong, that $5 million would be, you wouldn't live long enough to spend it. It would be gone.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
With that. But see, what I'm saying, Mr. Madison, is that there's programs already in existence. So what you
but they are not programs
is to
that
make
are
those
functional.
programs.
Absolutely right. The money would be taxed too, which would go back to the system. Right. That is Castle Dragon 78. You're right. Don't forget that $5 million that comes in will get taxed at a certain rate. To some, the $5 million would be less. It actually probably would be less because you're going to get taxed. So even if black people in San Francisco were to get $5 million, they're going to get taxed by the state of California. They're going to get taxed by the federal government. Then there's local. Right.
What happens?
You don't have housing. What housing programs do you have let's just take housing in San Francisco that would help everybody, not everybody, but those who got one lump sum be able to afford housing?
London Breed started this program. It's called the Dream Program. And what the city is doing, they're doing equal partner.
I want to say peace to Jeff Johnson 357. Thank you, brother. And he says right here, 28 to 35%. He's breaking it down for us.
With a homeowner that can qualify, and they're going through these various banks, some of these banks that we've heard on the news recently that people are fighting and hoping that they do stay alive because a lot of these banks are providing.
I'm going to stop the audio there. Let me do right here. Let me do this right here. Earl Owens asked a very good question.
Tell the truth.
that question that he asked is, would that be federal or California tax? Well, they're going to get taxed by California tax, which is high, and they're going to get taxed federally too. That's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
No sound. I'm sorry about that. Sorry about the no sound. I hope you can hear me now. Thank you. What I'm saying to you is that the NAACP, when they put out a message, they have to do better when they put out their message. They have to mean what they say what they mean, and put out a clear message that everyone understands so that they don't get caught embarrassed like this. I believe that Dr. Amos Brown wants black people to get, thank you for that, Just Alicia, letting me know that my sound was off. I appreciate you that. Appreciate you, sister. I believe that this brother wants us to get reparations. We may have a different way we see it than he does. We may want those cash payments, but I think cash payments is a must. And I'll take some of the programs. The only problem with programs is bureaucracy. It being tied up in Washington, D.C., tied up in city government. That's a problem. It's bureaucracy that drags on. And we don't need bureaucracy. We need it right now. Cut the damn check. Let's stop playing around here. They've already pushed this to October in San Francisco. He said it himself. But brother, I got to say to you again respectfully, you are the president of the NAACP. You have to be emphatic with the information that you put out and making sure it's really what the organization and you feel is where you stand. Because if you would have put this information out properly, you would have never been thrown under the bus this way through the media and people having various feelings about what you said in the document or what you didn't say. This would never happen. We've got to do better and how we present our information, especially when we have black organizations that are supposed to represent the masses of black people, particularly the masses of black people at 6% in San Francisco. You have to be in tune with the heartbeat of the citizens, the people, and put the right message out and make sure you clarify what you believe the first time around, not the second time around. If you all agree with me, put a 7 in the chat room. I believe the only way we get reparations is we got to stay steady on the task. We have to work together, not against each other, with each other. We'll have different philosophies, we'll have difference of opinion. We may not like what our politicians say, which I have a problem with politicians. I still stand on what I said in the beginning of the show. We need young leadership. I think Dr. Amos Brown has done his thing for a number of years in leadership in San Francisco, but I'm sorry. We need young leadership. We need the minds of today. We need young minds. We need black young men and black young ladies leading our movements now. Black people from the civil rights movement, they've had their time in the sun to get it right. They have taken us this far, but it's now time for us to take it further and beyond what they took it to. It's time. We need young leadership. We can get advice and advisory and wisdom from our older generation of leadership, but we need young leadership. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, that's my young one in the room. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a good night. Let's have a good Sunday. I'll see you around the YouTube streets very soon. Share this video in all your social media. Share in your community tab, and I love you all. Thank you.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel.
Tell the truth.
Peace.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
Thank you for all the super chats too. Thank you.
Tell the truth.
Big man, once again, brother, thank you again. He says San Francisco was founded by a black man named William Alexander Leifdorf. He was a millionaire. The city formerly known as Newbury was named after a Catholic mission, named after a Catholic saint, Saint Francis. And you know what? There is a church in San Francisco called St. Francis. Man, this is great history. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat, too.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, brother Big Man. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, brother, I appreciate that. If you want truth, listen to the last prophets, elders. Yeah, always. Definitely. Appreciate that. Let me say shout out to brother, the infamous Styles 301, infamous Styles 301. Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here. All right. I got to get ready to end the show. A lot of people have left the program. I've been on for a while. I appreciate all of you. The infamous Styles 301. What's up, brother? Last call in the house. Bella girl, Bella, brown girl, Bella in the house. Alice Angel, thank you for being here, Alice Angel. All right, big man, Information Man Show. It's all good, brother. Good show. Did you see that? I saw it, brother. I appreciate that. Last call. What's going on, last call? Jazzin', a lot of great people. Oh, we got the beautiful Bernice in the house. Good to see you.
Tell the truth.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Tell the truth.